You know, we have a global tribe here on the On the Mark podcast, but when I get to connect with four of my homies, well, three of my homies, four of us on the show from South Africa, it's always a lekker time. And I've got the boys from Jondo Sports Eyewear here. There's Morne Botha, there's Mike de Jong, and there's Peter Nordier. And before we dive into it, boys, I want to make an observation because I have worn eyewear since Moby Dick was a minnow playing golf. And I wore a competitor's eyewear. We won't use the name, but I got to tell you this. Since I've changed, I read greens better. I see the ball through the air better. And my life just seems happier because the colors have raised so much. So I want you, Morne, to go there from a golf perspective because the eyes aren't just the windows to the soul. If you want to play proper sports, golf, whatever, you got to see properly. So tee us off, won't you?
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, thanks for having us, all the South Africans, in one call. You know what, Mark? What you just said there. I've been involved, in golf for more than 25 years. Being a professional golfer, teaching pro, then got involved in club administration and retail, etc. But one thing for me always in my life, and especially in golf, was, to find talent and look at talented players. And I just envy any sport, when you look at the talent that the players have. But next to that, how to improve and how to get better at whatever it is you're doing. And when I first met Mike and Peter, their product to me was like mind-blowing, and the reason why, just slightly before I met them or this product specifically, I was involved in a bit of neuroscience business with a lady called Cheryl Calder. She's done a lot of work with Ernie and
been on the show many moons ago. We had her on this very show.
Yeah, and and they do unbelievable work with the eyes and sport. And straight after that, did some work with Jolene Comfer, and she had a slogan that said, "The eyes lead the body."
Okay.
And I always wondered, in sport, I get it, like cricket, tennis, what you see and how you're going to react to it. It makes sense, but I always wondered, how does that work in golf? How does the eyes lead the body in golf? And then, anyway, fast track to when I met these great gentlemen from Jondo, the founders. They showed me a lens, and I always also liked playing with glasses, but could never find something really, that really works for me. And, the first time I put on these glasses, it was just unbelievable. My first question to Peter was, are these polarized lenses, or, what's so different in them? Because immediately I could feel my eyes relax, and I saw different things on the golf course. And I mean, we can go into it, but that was amazing what I saw there.
Okay. Peter, you're known as the brains in this operation by the other two guys, so I'll get to you in a minute. First, Mike, who you've been in tennis for most of your life, honestly, Mike. And my question to you is, first off, how did you get involved over here? And then secondly, because I had a brush with my daughter's tennis coach the other day, and he was wearing shades, and it was a bright, sunshiny morning here in the States, and he was just hitting tennis balls back and forth to us, and I gave him the shades, and he put them on, and he honestly went, wow. And I was like, it was the same sort of experience I had. So I want to know from you first a little bit of your background, but how did you come to Jondo as it is right now?
Yeah, Mark, lovely being on your show. I had the privilege of playing a little bit of professional tennis, and as it turned out, I was a very average professional and turned out to be a pretty good coach. And before I knew it, I was coaching several of the top ladies in the world. I worked with Martina Navratilova for 6 years.
Yeah.
I had Mary Pierce for a couple of years, Amanda Kutzer, the little South African. So, I was in the privileged position of working with some of the best tennis athletes in the world, and did that for about 16 years, and then returned back to South Africa. and got myself into a business where we imported and distributed some of the world's greatest cycling brands, the Pinarellos and CDs of the world, the top-end Italian brands. And at that time, I got involved with Rudy Project, another competitor that's well known around the world, and they got stuck into golf. And that was part of my life for 10 years. We sold the business in 2016, and I then promised to never, ever get into eyewear again.
And here we are.
And here we are. So COVID rolled around, and when we got locked down proper in South Africa, you know, I could only do so many laps around the garden, through the garage, through the garden gate, and back around the property, and got bored. So felt like we need to have a little bit of fun. Golf has become a great part of my life. It's a hobby, and that lifelong quest to conquer the sport that'll never happen. But having a great time, loving golf, and said, I want to design the best pair of golfing lenses specifically, and which will then lead to eye, of course, but it's all about the lens. And Peter, as you said, the brains behind it, being a qualified optometrist, I gave him a call, and he used to be one of my clients back in the day, and got a lot of respect for the way he approaches sports optics, which is completely different to normal optics. And just said, Peter, I've got this idea. I basically want to go out and put together the greatest pair of eyewear available in the world at an affordable price. That's big to me. I mean, if you throw any money at it, you could probably keep going to a level of discovering what you need to.
Yeah.
And Peter then went off and disappeared for 3-4 months out of my life. And one day that magical phone call came that said, you need to come over and come and see this lens. I think I've found what we are looking for. And as they say, the rest is history. And Jondo was born in South Africa, now is in the States, Australia, Mauritius, the UK, and who knows where next.
Peter, congratulations. Everyone I've spoken to, me personally, I'm going to make an acknowledgement, and let's call this an endorsement, right? I have worn other brands. The reason why when Monet put these on me, because I'll be honest with you, when he first came, I was a little hesitant. I was like, you know, come on, I've been wearing glasses for the longest time. And he goes, no, Mark, really, just try these on. And I put them on, and we were outside, obviously. And I looked up, and it's like the whole world just brightened. And so just because of that, I'm like, wow, this is sweet. Made me feel good. And then when I went on the golf course with him for the first time, because, you know, my other job is an on-course announcer. And now when it comes to me reading greens, I can do it from 40 yards away because you can see the colors on the greens, where previously I'd have to walk all the way up to the green to make the proper call. So I wear these things because they're comfortable. They don't slip even when I'm playing golf, which is nuts because, you know, most athletic golf brands or tennis brands, they're like wraparounds and you look like a bit of a space alien. These things, you look cool. The lenses, obviously, I want you to talk about those. And then there's the old eye health thing that no one talks about because, you know, we all want to stay in shape, but no one pays attention to their eyes. So I want you to start first off with this thing and what you call CRISP technology, please.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mark. It's nice to be on the receiving end of all the compliments so far. And what you guys have experienced is what we try to achieve. And here's the good news. Everybody can achieve it. You don't need to go and practice to see better with these glasses. You don't need to go and there's no adaptation period. The secret of this is it's new technology that's around. It's never been around before in sunglasses. They call it spectral filtration. And it really puts polarized on the back foot because polarized cut out 50% of all your light. And here's a surprise for most of the listeners. You don't see with your eyes, you see with your brain. So if you cut out 50% of your light that the brain uses to interpret information, then you've lost 50% of the skill. So you've basically gone down to fiber optic internet, down to a dial-up modem again. And,
I remember those days. Remember the sound of that thing?
yeah, just that. You know, it takes some time to process. But yeah, it's the effect of this is a very delicate balance because we don't just allow any of the light to pass through the lens. So what spectral filtration does is it basically dims all of the light, but then very specific wavelengths of light is transmitted 100% through the lens. So that's why you see this vivid image when you put these lenses up. And it's like that for everyone. And that's what you need when you're out on a golf course. The more you can improve the contrast, the better your brain's ability is to interpret what it's seeing. Yeah. When you as a golfer need to read a green, glare is coming from the blades of grass. Now, polarized lenses are designed to cut away glare. That's their purpose. Mm-hmm. So now you need that information to read a green or to determine the direction of the blades of grass. Those are tools that Morne referred to. How will the eyes lead golf? That's exactly how the eyes lead golf. Mm-hmm. When you address your golf ball on a tee box, what do you use to determine the height? There's so little information. Well, one of those things is the glare coming from that white golf ball, and your brain uses that to determine the height. So the human brain is an amazing thing, and if we go into vision here, it's going to be a complicated discussion, but we'll keep that out of it here. We'll rather talk about the experience and that the vividness that all of us refer to here. It's open, your brain uses it, and it's instant.
Okay. Hey, Mike. Bravo for finding this man and hiring him. You know, it's a fascinating story. And I want to go along these lines too. And I want to pitch it to you here, Mike, because you can use these things anywhere. And I play tennis in them, and tennis is hot and sweaty and you're running around. And most times glasses slide around your face. These don't. I've got these Club Champs here. I love them. I honestly do.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, you know, the other brand that I was wearing, and I was endorsing the stuff as an ambassador, you had to change lenses for different light variations, like dark or gloomy or bright or whatever the case might be. If it's a gloomy day, I still wear these exact things and I see just as well as what I would if it was sunshiny. I want your take there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And some of the brands that I was involved in, they had photochromatic lenses to try and, you know, go up when it's gloomy and go down when it's bright and all of that. And without getting all scientific, because Peter will start laughing when Morne and I get all technical and scientific because we'll get it wrong. But he spoke about the spectral filtration, and this lens specifically allows 3 primary colors at 100% of those wavelengths, as Peter was explaining. And without getting too technical, in different light conditions, one of those are going to be the champion, to your point. So the lens will keep working with different light conditions to still give you that vivid contrast that you're looking for. I've got so many people that come to me in the first time, and that's we have no sales pitch. We put it on your face.
Yeah.
And you experienced it exactly the way that most of our first time users do. And there's a wow, or there's holy cow, you know, what has just happened here? And a lot of people follow that with, is this scripted? Do you have a little script in here because I'm seeing better? Mm-hmm. And then the answer is simple. There's no script. It's a plano. It's straight off. But you are actually seeing better, as Peter explained. Your brain is actually calculating a more vivid picture because of the lens allowing light, which means information, for the brain to calculate what you're going to see. To your point, on a tennis court, first thing, you have the white lines. You got a yellow ball. You got a greenish or a bluish or a darker colored surface, which means immediately the lines pop. The top of the net is white, it pops.
Yeah.
The yellow ball pops. So people go, wow, we like that. And secondly, tennis is all about, while being in movement, making a judgment on depth perception, distance, how close I am to the ball to get that exact area of the perfect strike that you're looking for. So there's a lot of calculation happening at that time. And because a tennis court normally would give you a lot of glare from the sun, people go to polarized, as Peter just explained, to soften and make it an easy wear where you go, this is nice, my eyes feel good in this. But you lose so much light that you lose your depth perception and judgment of distance. And that's what happens. We now have this lens which is vivid, but it still kills the glare, but it's not polarization that we use.
Yeah, Morne, here's a really in-depth golfy thing. And for the folks listening on audio, go check out YouTube because you'll see me wearing these right now. I'm looking into a light. Let's cut that out. I can see you guys brightly. I don't have my readers on, so you're slightly blurry, but that's me. That's not the sunglass. Mornay, whenever I've worn like a Wayfarer kind of a thing on the golf course, that design, something almost like this, right? Not those wraparound athletic brands. When I'd get into my posture and I'd look down at the ball, I could see light underneath the frames. I could see out the outside of these things. And then every golfer's like, there's too much going on here right now. But I've got a fashion designed eyeglass I'm putting on, and it looks cool, but it doesn't let that extra viewing point, I guess, for lack of a better word, in there. So I'd love you to sort of elaborate a little bit on that and how it fits the face for sports and for casual wear.
Yeah. So, Mark, first of all, that design that you've got there is really probably one of our best sellers. And and the reason for that frame, you'll see on the side it's got almost like a little wing.
Yeah.
And that also blocks a bit of light from the side. But Peter should actually go more into the 17% light we transmit and use, and that ties in with what Mark said earlier. It doesn't matter what sort of weather conditions you play in, whether it's early in the morning or overcast or bright sunny days, you can still have them on and you'll experience this crystal clear visual on it. But, when it comes to the design, and this is where Peter and his team are very clever. We look at golfers, and it doesn't matter if you're in the shoe business or clothing, accessories. It's always a difficult thing to try and get a range of different sizings that will fit everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And the approach was to go with certain frames and looks that will suit, call it 80% of the market out there. So before just going out to our designers and say we like this frame and that frame and so on, Peter and his team in the lab in South Africa, they go through a whole process where they say, right, what frame will suit 80% of the golf market out there? And there's another sort of reasoning behind that. Ultimately we sell into wholesale green grass stores here, and you can't give a retailer 70 different options. You want to narrow it down to say, listen, 80% will sort of fit in this slot. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm not an optometrist and I don't have any retail experience really in that, but Peter will tell you, when you put so many different options in front of people, they just get confused. So our focus is to really get a comfortable frame that you can have on your face for 5-6 hours without taking them off,
without it hurting your nose or your ears, man. Because we're out there for golfers for hours on end, and you start feeling it on your ears over here, and you get headaches and stuff just from your head if you're wearing a cap.
And that was finding the right balance between fit and then definitely weight. And then what will give you that sort of perfect, call it grip or wrap around, the head, where it's still comfortable without,
breathing on you,
annoying.
Yeah.
And, clever things that we've done, the different pieces, earpieces, nose pieces, they're not separate units from the frame. It's all in one. So it's a robust material that we used all in one. And it's a performance thing. When you spoke earlier or said you've got these funky or fashionable shades, Peter doesn't like that. We're not in fashion, we're in performance.
I almost want to say I need to help you there, Morne, but the thing is, Mark, it's a very tight-rope balancing act that we actually perform. And when Mike came and visited me in 2020, I said to him, Mike, we can do this, but there's one rule that we will not overstep, and that is we're going to stay away from these very high curved lenses, because in its own, that also creates a bit of what we call a perceptual distortion. Okay. It looks great on a mountain bike or a cycling bike when you need aerodynamics, but it looks terrible on a golf course. And from a fashion point of view, it's terrible. Nobody wants to look like a fruit fly while you're coming off the 18th, I said to him, there's a very delicate balance. A normal spectacle frames like the frames you're wearing now, that comes in what we call a 2 base curve. It's very flat on the face. And it's very similar to the aviators that you refer to in the Wayfarers. So they're very close to a 2 face tilt.
Yeah.
So you'll see on a Jondo frame when you lift it up, it's got a slight face tilt, but not too much. It's like I said, a very delicate balance. And then instead of a normal 2, there we go. You see that little bit of a curve?
Watch on YouTube,
is that perfect curve that you need to just take away that back reflection that a lot of people see and that peripheral distortion. Think of horses. When they put them on the Durban July, they strap their eyes flat. Because why is it? They don't want them to be distracted from the peripheral. That's what Jondo, and that Club Champ model that you've got is the flagship, probably because of that little delicate wing that it's got there at the back to keep you focused on the thing you need to, and that's the white ball in front of you.
Mike, are you ever going to keep that guy next to you? And I'm referring to Peter. Are you ever going to slow him down, or is he coming at you with new stuff all of the time? I mean, the way that Peter is talking, it's like I'm hearing things like spectral filtration and perceptual distortion. I'm like, yes, but this is real. And as you coming at this from an athlete who's now in this game, you've been a coach as well. It's like you are in uncharted waters right now with what you guys are doing.
Yeah, Mark, I'll probably never make money because he's costing me so much. But I mean, at least it's cool that I'm part of something that is quite cutting edge. But we joke about it. Pete and I are very good friends. I've come from the professional sporting background, be it tennis. I played golf my whole life, and Peter being an optometrist, not an optometrist only, but a sports interested optometrist. So sports optics has always been at the front of his mind. And when we sat down, and you touched on it without even knowing what you're saying, is that we said, we want to get a pair of lifestyle glasses. You need to feel comfortable in them. You need to really feel like they can do what they need to do, but just nice, solid pair, good looking, you feel comfortable. And then we're going to go off the charts, high performance lens, because that is what golf is about. If there's a sport on this planet other than archery and sharp shooting, I reckon golf is the one that you need to trust what you see. When someone's cycling and maybe there's a bit of distortion or refraction, they're not going to hit the curb and miss it by half a yard. But in golf, when you're trying to read the grain, you're trying to see, what's happening. It's everything about what you see. And every professional golfer that we've given this lens, the first thing was, I'm reading the greens better. I'm making more putts. And that's coming from professionals, who can read greens and who can putt. And they're immediately going, I need this. This is one step forward for me.
Hey, Peter, I said when I put them on, these were the things that jumped out to me, apart from the wow of the colors that they lifted. They were comfortable. We've talked about that. You wear them golf and casually. And when I play tennis, they're like multi-purpose, yet they still look cool. And then I talked about eye health. Because my wife, Tracy, she grew up in Durban. For the global audience here, Durban is a beachfront town. She was on the beach for 9/10 of her life. So you can imagine she had some eye issues and had a little bout, honestly, with cancer in one of her eyes. The eye health is a real thing, especially for every athlete, every golfer who's watching and listening to this. So you being the optometrist, I want you to talk about why wearing glasses on the golf course, aside from now when us in the springtime, we've got pollen everywhere. So glasses keeps that stuff out of your eyes. But just the value of playing in stuff like this, beyond what I've said, with just the health of your eyes.
Mark, thanks. Yes, eye health is very close to my heart as an optometrist. So if I can have a 1 second detour, I'm actually a mountain biker myself with a little bit of golf background. But I first approached South Africa to try and make mountain biking compulsory for eye safety. And just imagine a stone hits up and it hits the eye and you don't have any eyewear. It's fatal. We know about Mark Boucher, just one last game and the wicket shot up and
I need to stop you there. I must stop you. Sorry. This is just because we're a global podcast. Mark Boucher, people, was probably South Africa's national cricket team's foremost wicketkeeper, catcher in baseball, basically, of all time. And he had a horrid accident where the ball collided with the wickets, and one of the bails shot up and hit him in the eye. It was just a disastrous injury.
Yeah.
Okay.
He lost the function of that eye. I mean, respect to Mark, I mean, he's very active still in sports. But yeah, things like that could have been prevented, even if he just had a pair of optical glasses like yours on, if they were safety treated.
Mm-hmm.
But Jondo is designed out of a optometric viewpoint. So there's a few things we need to discuss about the actual lens. So we don't use normal thin sunglass lenses. A lot of the sunglasses you'll see out there, you can actually pop the lens out. It's quite a thin lens. Jondo crisp lenses uses a minimum center thickness of 2 millimeters. That makes it very impact resistant, number one. Number two, each lens is customly casted. We should actually spend some time on just the manufacturing process of Jondo sunglasses, Mark. But thirdly, it's made out of a 1.56 refractive index. It's a very specific index to optometry. And it's an index that's known for its good optical quality, yet more durability and lighter in weight. But a big advantage for us is that the material itself contains a UV resistant quality. So we don't need to put any coatings on our lens to have a UV 400 related protection.
Mm-hmm.
Our lens itself and the material is UV resistant. And being 2 millimeters thick, there's more absorption even. So it's one of the best UV protective lenses you can have on your eyes. Now, the conditions you've mentioned, stuff like cancers, it's more linked to UV. It's more eye that might be outside skin related, but you also get internal issues like macular degeneration.
Yeah.
That's directly linked to UV exposure, specifically blue rays. And you would note that our lens amplifies the green, yellow, and red, not the blue. So the blue is actually reduced. That's one of the triggers for my macular degeneration. The other very big factor is cataract development. So cataracts are directly linked to UV exposure. And being a golfer, being a tennis player, you are exposed to excessive sunlight. So a cap is also a good preventative measure, but there's sunlight, UV rays bouncing off the surface, coming back up from the bottom. So even if you're wearing a cap, a pair of sunglasses should be compulsory in my view on the golf course. But yeah, so I don't say UV is bad, but wear the right protective measure that we've got. We are just exposed excessively to UV, and that's the issue. So yeah, definitely Jondo ticking boxes on the medical side.
Well, here's the reality for our fans. You know, people download the show because they want to get better at a game. So these are real golf people. We don't have drive-by fans here. And so they're spending extended periods of time on the golf course. Just one round out there is 4 hours, if not more. Okay. And then you do that a few times a week and you practice. I'm with you. I feel like eyewear is mandatory. It's non-negotiable.
Yeah. Sorry, I haven't addressed your issue about the pollen. And well done getting that correct, because what happens is that with direct wind into your eye, the reflex goes back to the brain. We call it a feedback mechanism. And it says, listen, in your eye, you are becoming a little bit dry. You need to produce more tears. If you produce more tears, it's of a poorer quality, and you are more acceptable to these pollens, and the allergic reaction can follow. And hence, how do you keep that direct wind out of the eye? Just a pair of Jondo sunglasses keeps that wind out of the eye, keeps your eye to produce less tears, but of a better quality that will give you better protection against pollen.
See, Monet, your colleague over here has helped me figure out why in the wintertime on the golf course, this eye of mine always weeps.
Yeah.
It's not going to anymore.
It's for free, Mom.
You're welcome. Well, you're welcome. Look, I'm a believer. And Monet, the cool thing about this all is that we do have a code for our On The Mark tribe to go and get themselves a pair. So before you tell them where to get that, I also want to say, this makes me very, very proud, that there's a huge range of these if you go to the website. But here in the near or not too distant future, there'll be an On The Mark range of these things. So have at it. Tell us about it, please, Monet, because I'm almost overcome.
Yeah, so listen, we're very honored to have you as a believer of the brand, you know. So and like Mike mentioned earlier, we actually don't have a sales pitch. We always just say, you know, put the glasses on and, you know, proof is in the pudding, and that's how we get people to really become, as you call it, believers in this beautiful product. But you know. Peter and the team, you know, they come up with all these fancy golf names as style names for each
Okay,
Jondo.
I need to read some of them to you real fast. There's the club champ, right? There's the butty, and if you're not South African, that basically means brother. There's Dormy, which is a very golfing term. There's Dovetail, Fringe, Gimme, Rambo, Sandy, Two Clubs. So we're very golfy over here. So I feel like On the
Yeah.
Mark is a nice addition to this range.
Absolutely, that's why we're so honored to soon have you on our brand. So that's it's very exciting, and yeah, so we'll obviously, you know, get that out as soon as possible and share it with all your listeners and the viewers. But in the meantime, if they want to go and have a look, they can go to our website, jondosport.com. Have a look at all the product there, and you know, if they want to buy, they can use your promo code On the Mark, and that will give them $25 off any purchase. Yeah.
Are we global with that code? Can folks from around the globe get that?
Well, no, not really. That's only in the US, but we've got we ship all over the world, so it might go through other channels in South Africa, or the guys in Dubai, or the UK, New Zealand, Australia. So we'll depend on, you know, what's the easiest and closest for them.
We don't care if the Kiwis don't get shades. We're not worried about them. Right.
Nothing
Okay.
can help them.
Yeah, listen, you guys have been great. What you're doing is honestly, it's groundbreaking, Mike. So I want to give you the parting shot. If I said to you, all right, you've been through it all, you're now with this brand, it is at the cutting edge of it all. It's sort of lifted the whole market. And I feel like in your own way, you're creating a lot of upheaval. And I'm keen to see how the other brands react. So your parting shot to the athletes, the golfers, the tennis players, the pickleball players, you name it out, just anyone out there. With wearing shades like this, eyewear, being in sport, competition, whatever the case might be, what is the sign off from you?
Yeah, Mark, you guys will see what's going to happen in the States, and I'm not going to spoil it for you because Peter and I have had 3 years of seeing what's happened in South Africa and one or two other places that we rolled out first. So we know what's going to happen. But the parting shot is, no matter any of those sports that you mentioned, everyone wants to be better. And there are many ways to do that. Of course, coaching, equipment, we can go down the line. But when it comes to what you see, if you get better information, the brain calculates a better picture, you're going to have a better opportunity in making judgment calls, whether it's depth perception, whether it's pace, speed, and judging. And all of that is what Jondo gives you. It is almost a legal way of cheating.
Okay. All right. With that, Mornay, quickly share for the folks. I'm putting you under pressure here. Share for the people the web address, global and the US, and where they can find you, because you guys are now getting into social media as well, please.
Yeah. You can go to www.jondosport.com and
Jondo, folks. Jondo.
Yeah. Jondosport.com, and all the information will be on there.
All right, Peter, we've had the Muchus speak for a few minutes. Sign us off. What will you leave us with?
Yeah, it starts with the eyes and it ends with the eyes, you know, it ends with the brain. So give your brain the best chance to succeed. And I'm just glad that optometry could actually step to the plate here and really deliver a product that's supposed to be on the face when you wear sunglasses, and not all of these other fashion brands that we see that really gets made in a fashion factory with somebody that's got absolutely zero optical knowledge. This thing is designed by me and Mike in my office, which is a optometric practice full time. Yeah, so it's been done by passion, and we just appreciate all the positive feedback. So I hope we can reach many more people and change their lives.
Well, bravo, boys. I appreciate you for what you do, but mostly thanks for joining the show, because I try and be holistic with all the information I bring. And this is the first time we've talked about the eyes on a game instruction podcast. So thank you very much. And thanks for making that whole thing easier.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mark.
Mark.